Welcome to the Wilson Wealth Show, a thought provoking show about building wealth in the new economy. Each week, members of the Wilson Wealth team and their guests will discuss how to navigate the world of personal finance, stocks, real estate, and entrepreneurship to help you build wealth in the new economy. And now, here is your host, Ciera McCosh.
Thank you for joining us for part two of The Wedding Hustle.
So with that being said, what would you say are some of our takeaways for our audience?
Oh, yeah. Actually, let's go ahead and circle back, if you don't mind. I would love to have Maurice break down the real cost of having a wedding, because I know I threw out some figures. Oh, you're fine. Threw out some figures in the beginning. And I just kind of wanted to drill that home so people understand, we're mostly talking about the cost. The pressures are also very important, but I would love to have our financial advisor break it down for us.
You're looking at an average cost of a wedding being $33,000, with the high costs ranging in the 140 to 150 region. So what I wanted to do was just break down the lower end and how it impacts someone. So I went with a cost of $33,000 and just said, okay, if a couple could put that money in the market and have one of these surprise weddings that you guys mentioned in its place, 10 years later, that money is more than doubled for that couple. And let's say they had a child 5 years into marriage. By the time that child is 18 years old, the money they would have spent on marriage is now worth almost $180,000. Which will be more than enough to put, at least one kid through school. If they had two kids, and let's say they had the first child take out a loan so they could keep saving money, keep this money investing. By the time that second child got to college, assuming you had the kids about 5 years apart, the money you saved by not having even an average wedding would be worth about $265,000. By the time that second child went to college. So that's more than enough to cover college. Things that are really more important than the wedding when you think about, just by making a conscientious choice not to spend a lot of money on your wedding. And really those numbers, people will say, well, that's not reasonable to not spend anything on a wedding. And that's true. So let's say you just reduce the biggest cost of a wedding, which according to the research is your venue. Let's say you cut that completely out and cut your wedding costs in half. You're still looking at about $120,000, roughly a quarter or 25 years after that couple got married, that they would have in the bank or available to them. So if you can reduce that cost of wedding, you really are able to set you and your family up for a very prosperous future, which is really what you want to look forward to when everything is done, right? So that's it's important. Definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a really good way to break it down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's talk about those takeaways then. With everything that we've said then, I love Maurice actually named this section and I love it. He put "till debt do we start," which is completely correct because, we're supposed to be getting married to, start our families, start our lives with love. And we're starting out our lives with tremendous debt, basically, with the way that weddings cost. And you have to think most people who are getting married are either fresh out of college or maybe they're a few years into it. It takes a long time to pay off student loan debt. So you're getting married with student loan debt on both sides a lot of the times. Let's just say you have an average 4-year degree, you're still going to have student loan debt. And also credit card debt a lot of the times, because weddings are so expensive. A lot of these expenses get put on credit cards. So now we got student loan and credit card debt. And then all of the parties that go along with it, the engagement party, the bridal shower, the bachelorette, there's a debt there too. And then the actual wedding being as much as it is on average, $33,000, that's even on the low side. You're looking at wedding debt. And then God forbid, you got to think about the honeymoon. The honeymoon hasn't been included in anything we've talked about. Think about how much you spend on your honeymoon. You're going out for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes even a month. That's thousands and thousands of dollars right there that you're in debt. So then what are you left with? You've got no money for home. you've got no home wealth, you've got rental debt possibly, and you're not prepared to have kids right off the bat because it's really not smart to go ahead and start getting pregnant when you have all this debt over your head. So then you got to work on bringing that down, and it just puts you further down the line in life, and you're not going to be able to wealth build at all.
Definitely. That's that's some of the things you just don't think about when you are getting involved and kind of the hype and pomp around getting married. You just don't think about what happily ever after is up against because of this big day. So that's something to know. And all of this is deflating to a young couple in love. But I think that we've evolved to a point where we don't find it odd to tell people, well, if you're going to get married, you need marriage counseling. Mm-hmm. And just as that doesn't connote that we think you guys might not make it, so you better get some counseling, I think bringing these real numbers to a couple and their family and saying, okay, how can we mitigate the worst of this? Is not meant to take shine off of that person's big day, but just to kind of make sure that they're going to be okay the day after the big day. So
absolutely. Not everything should be on one day.
Right.
You shouldn't have years of debt for one day. That's kind of what the bottom line is here.
Yeah. I mean, a prom night can go wrong and take you off course, if you will. So it's the same thing with a wedding day.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess up.
It's completely true. And let's just say with the wedding markup and with the way that weddings cost and the pressure and everything, I'm just thinking it's not worth it. We're looking at something that's just not worth it anymore. It's kind of the traditional wedding sense in a lot of ways. I feel like we've just outgrown it. And I think that we need to switch it up and figure out what we can do to save some money and to make it more about the love.
Definitely. Yeah. And I actually think we're going to get there. I think that, we are stretching the American consumer just to the breaking point, really beyond the breaking point. College, weddings, childcare, kid stuff, it's just all starting to be more than what a typical family can afford. So I think the consumer needs to take back and not get hustled, per this podcast, take back their pocketbooks and their wallets and I'm gonna give you a perfect example. This is a little bit off it's not off topic, it's in the same vernacular or realm. We have these birthday parties for my kids, and I didn't know this until like a couple of years into my first, but you're expected to give people that come to your kid's birthday party gifts, like party favors. So we're in Party City getting little giveaways. And I'm like, the party's already going to run $300 anyway, because we're at some Monkey Joe's or Chuck E. Cheese or whatever. And now I got to get 25 gifts to give away. And that's like the wedding, like, because you're giving people who come to your wedding gifts, the groomsmen and whatnot. That. Yeah, I've got some nice stuff from going to other people's weddings. So it's just, so we had a party just now for my 8-year-old, and we had it because of Corona. We had it in our driveway. We didn't give anything away. I got this bubble machine from my neighbor. We hung up some streamers, played some music, and had the cake, and didn't cost us $400, and nobody said anything. The world didn't stop because we didn't have the $400 birthday party. So I think weddings can follow that line, and I think some of that trend has already started. So
absolutely, because for a while weddings were really getting out of control. Like Ablavi, I remember you told me something that kind of blew my mind. I didn't even know about it, and that was the groomsmen cake is now a tradition.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, apparently like the groom has his own cake now, which is just a whole nother expense. Like I feel like a lot of these traditions were just created by the wedding industry just to get more money out of us. Like what? I don't understand the purpose of it all. Like, kudos to you if you had it. I'm not trying to hate on anybody, but why?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. Like all of these like little traditions and extra ceremonies and extra things that you have to have, or people are going to be like, oh my God, did you hear they didn't even have a groomsmen cake? Like, what is the purpose? I don't understand. I think it should just be about you and your partner getting married. And, if I had to say anything to the wedding industry, stop robbing people. Stop robbing people, because you absolutely are.
Well, we know they're not going to stop. So the people need to stop letting themselves get robbed.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not trying to victim blame here, but
Right.
you gotta.
And if you have the money to drop the 33 grand or $100,000 on the wedding, and doing that for that one day is like a drop in the bucket to you, we're not talking to you.
No,
okay?
no.
We're talking to other people who don't have the money, and they're taking money out of their 401ks and getting into massive debt.
We're talking to the average Joe here, the average person trying to start a life out and who just wants to have a nice time, who feel like that this is something that they absolutely have to spend a lot of money on. We can get into a lot of stuff. Like, I also feel like the engagement ring industry could change quite a bit, with like all the markup on diamonds and stuff. I know personally, I'm over here like not even wanting a diamond ring just because it's so expensive. And I know a lot of people, I would say like millennials, are getting a little bit crafty with that. And they're finding other ways to save money on the ring, but having something equally nice. Like that's like a whole nother podcast. We could talk about that, because it is crazy. The diamond industry is absolutely nuts. But you know what? We'll get into that another time.
Exactly.
Yeah. With all of that being said, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Wilson Wealth Show, a thought-provoking show about building wealth in the new economy. Each week, members of the Wilson Wealth team and their guests will discuss how to navigate the world of stocks, real estate, and entrepreneurship to help you build wealth in the new economy. Please join us next time on the Wilson Wealth Show.